we have a real membership issue, and Michael is the chair of the membership committee, and his focus and our whole board's focus will be on membership development this year. So whilst that's going on, to replace our lost members and build up our club again to around 30 members, that we need to have the impetus and the strength to do big projects and to in fact keep costs down. We'll be taking a fairly conservative approach to projects and activities within the club, and we'd really like to have input as to ways we can improve the running of the club to make it interesting, so we have more than 11 people turning up. I know we only have a membership of around 2021, but it would be really nice to have a bit more of a crowd coming to our meetings, because the more hands, the easier it is to get things done. For all of us has got to be membership development. It's a job for all of us. It's not just Michael's responsibility, it's all of our responsibilities. And I really sincerely hope we can get a half a dozen good Rotarians into the club before the end of the year. We were looking at the budget the other day with Ross. You know, when you have overheads this big and the membership this big, obviously the contribution for each member has to increase. When you have a membership of 30 people, that pro rata drops dramatically. So it affects all aspects of the club. So let's get our salesman shoes on and try and find new members. Okay, that
Bill,
said.
just on that membership, I think it's early September, we'll have this information night. So Keith and yourself, myself, Russell provided some names. If people have names of prospective members, especially in the sort of 40, 50, 55 age group who are still working, let me know their names and we can include them in the invitation to attend the information night. Just shoot me an email.
Bill, could I make just one comment? I joined Rotary many years ago, and I was encouraged to do so by my wonderful back manager, Ross Brown. And now there are certain things that you need in Rotary, or Rotary can attract people. One is fellowship. It's not doing anything, it's not raising money, but I think that we can improve our fellowship in this club considerably. And I have an idea that we can get every member of our club, every meeting, to stand up for a few minutes and talk about themselves. How much do we know about our club members? I mean, we might get a bit of an introduction when they come into the club. We know a bit more about Warwick here. We supported a Paul Harris recently, but people, we don't have that degree of information about anyone very much. And a lot of the older members, there's a lot of history there. So I'm suggesting to the board that we ask every member of the club that comes to a meeting to stand up for 2 minutes and speak about themselves. Just a quick summary. Who are you? Because I really don't know. I know a bit about these older people over here. There's a lot of people.
Be that as it may, what we have decided to do, and we, when I say we, I'm talking about past presidents of the club and Paul Harris Fellows. For 6 months we'll run the club with a roster as to chairing meetings, and for 6 months we will seek to identify an appropriate president-elect and vice president so that we have continuing management with some strength and some reliability, and we don't have to keep looking over our shoulders to see who's coming or going. We need to have a president and a president-elect, and we're aiming to do that before the end of the year. In the meantime, a roster will run the weekly meetings. Notwithstanding all that, our committees are working very actively, And last week we had our first board meeting for this Rotary year, and reports came in from all of our committees, and we're very happy with the way things are tracking. There are commitments made to get things done, and I'll quickly run through what they are. I'm not going to go into detail, but let's go through the committees. Youth Committee is a committee run by Stephen McMillan, and his projects will build on an established program, nothing too adventurous, but as you know, he's developed a wonderful relationship with Matura Primary School, and we will continue with those programs with the book prizes that recognise not so much meritorious work, but students who are standing up to the school standards and objectives. He's looking at United Nations International Day of Peace, the NYSF, RIPEN, and of course we have to maintain the youth protection. So that committee has rock solid programs which will continue. International program are being cut back to those that we regard as serious and immediate, and so as you know we raised over $9,000 for the Ukraine appeal from our dinner at the changeover, and Yuri and Oleg will continue to manage that committee, and a report will be coming out very shortly, maybe next week, because we've had our first letter back from Warsaw Club saying, telling us that the program of running a youth camp is underway, and in fact it has been expanded because the operator of the youth club, when he heard about the efforts being put on from international participants like us, they threw in some money themselves and increased the number of participants from 50 to 80, including additional teachers. So that's been a huge success, and the kids are currently at that camp and learning all sorts of skills, and we'll have a report from them shortly, and Yuri and Oleg will give us a report that we can use to distribute to our major benefactors and donors, and of course we'll have to build on it because despite our hopes and prayers, I think that conflict might last for some time yet. Indigenous program has been culled back. We're no longer going to be spending time, or George isn't going to be spending time with the Marwonga group out of Central West New South Wales. Our program will be pared down to the scholarship program with Hay War Memorial High School, where we have 4 scholarships each year. The 2 charities that we run for Indigenous projects are going strongly and have funds in them. So those scholarships will continue into the future. Every time we do a little project, we top up the account, and there's enough money there to keep that going. But we won't be looking for new projects, as far as I understand, right, George? No. For the time being. Community service is one where I'm hoping Warwick and Eric, when he comes back from his sojourn to Western Australia, get on top of, but we're looking to focus on domestic violence and homelessness in Canberra. And these new projects talked about by George today are sort of in that community projects arena. I think it's an important committee because it is the face of Rotary. When we get out in the community and they see Rotarians doing things, that's going to strengthen our reputation and of course lead to membership growth. So they're the things that we're doing in the next 6 months, and those committees are going to be reporting back to the board every month, and I'll put in reports in the bulletin so that you can see what's going on. But if you have any input or have any ideas for new activities, please come to us. I mean, these sort of things that George talked about today come up all the time. We can't do everything, but we can pick on things that interest us and are within our capacity and within our budget. We have a strong budget at the moment as a result of the COVID times when we accumulated funds. We don't have strong fundraising. As you know, we've lost the Stomp input for fundraising, but we're looking for other projects. We'll have the Candle Festival later this year, And it seems that every time an emergency arises, we find ways of raising the money. So we have a very generous base in this club, and we are all prepared to help when the need arises. So for 6 months, we'll see how it goes. These projects will continue on a rolling basis. They'll be monitored, they'll be built on, but